Hey everybody, this is your friend Richard, and this is the latest comic book finds volume. And I think this is number 129 or 130. It's been a long volumes, and the flea market's now running again. I went over to Robert's booth for the last couple weeks, and he had some nice books. And one at the end of this video is the first appearance I really wanted a long time. I really wanted the first appearance, and I was happy to get it. But there's two magazines and so many issues, and Robert threw one in. He just gave me it because he had so many copies of it. He said, "Hey, here, take this," he said. So, anyhow, back in the 70s and 80s, Marvel attempted their own magazine line. They had their own magazines, but they wanted to go edgier with some magazines, and they had tried it with Epic Illustrated and Marvel Preview. And the idea was to capitalize off what Heavy Metal was doing, because Heavy Metal was doing great sci-fi. They had great artists. They was doing nudity and sex and sci-fi stuff, and I have a bunch of those Heavy Metals from that. But anyhow, Marvel wanted to try to capitalize on that, but not use, nudity and all that stuff. So they had one magazine run like Epic, which is really good, and I've got a couple issues of that with Red Star, and that's when he first shows up. But Marvel Preview itself decided to use established characters and use them in magazine format. And I've got maybe one or two issues of that Marvel Preview in my collection, and one of these is, there's a couple issues there that I'll never touch because they're such pricey ones. But I got the first issue of Marvel Preview, and while it doesn't book like the later run, it's kind of cool to get a number 1 of Marvel Preview. And this has the Man Gods from Beyond the Stars. I have no clue who the Man Gods are, but it's kind of cool to get that. And yeah, it's not in near mint shape. It's pretty, it's been through the, ringer for a couple years. But it's kind of cool to get a number 1 magazine of that run. And Marvel Preview's big hits is number 2 with the Punisher and number 4 with the Star-Lord. If you could ever find that one, that's the first appearance of Star-Lord. And then there's number 7, which, it's got the first appearance of Rocket Raccoon. But he's not known as Rocket Raccoon yet. But it's really his first appearance. He would later appear in Hulk as Rocket Raccoon, which I traded to Eddie, but you get the idea. Well, another Marvel Preview, and this was in better shape, was later in the run. I think this is issue number 16. Yeah, it is. This one I picked up because I love the horror cover. It says, starring Holly Twist, Lilith, Queen of the Undead. That's kind of cool. And on the back of it, Marvel was actually advertising a Pacific comic series called Cody Starbuck, which is kind of cool to see. They're advertising a Pacific Comics series called Cody Starbuck by Howard Chaykin. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, these were two good Marvel magazines I picked up, Marvel Preview magazines. He had some other ones there, but I went ahead and got those. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the free comic Robert pitched me and threw to me. It was Destroyer Duck number 2. I'm not big into Destroyer Duck. Number 1 actually has the first appearance of Gru, and I've already got that one. I got that one years earlier with Eddie. Me and Eddie was on a trip down at Roanoke, and I picked it up for a couple bucks. But yeah, that's Destroyer Duck number 2. Now here's a nice one I picked up, and he just charged me $1 or $2 for it. It's actually Amazing Heroes Preview Special number 4. And I picked this one up because it had a Gru and Cerebius cover. Cerebius, or however you pronounce it. Dave Sims creation. I picked this one up, and it's got some nice previews of the year that's coming in comics with all these characters listed. And here's what's unique. I just learned this from skimming through because I was looking through some of it. When DC was doing Crisis, one of their ideas debated was relaunching Batman, the first, Batman series, after 400, at number 1. They was going to relaunch year 1 as number 1 and go from there. They decided against that idea because they didn't feel like Batman needed a full-scale reboot. because they thought some of the, in the book it's explained by, I don't know who the writer was. I think it was Denny O'Neil was the editor at the time, and O'Neil basically says a lot of Batman stayed the same. We just, we didn't really mess with his origin that much. A lot of his tenets stayed the same. So there's no need to relaunch at number 1. We just kept the original numbering. So that's kind of unique. I never knowed that, because you learn new things in comics every day. And looking at that, I was like, man, because I know back in the 70s, when the DC implosion hit, they was going to actually cancel Detective Comics at 480 and keep Batman Family running. But somebody walked in and said, look, we can't cancel Detective. That's not going to happen. It's one of our longest running titles with Action Comics. What we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're going to we'll keep it running. We'll put Batman Family into Detective Comics. And for like 10 or 15 issues, Batman Family ran in Detective. And Detective stayed running until 881, as you know, and then, went to that relaunch after Flashpoint. Or after Flashpoint. But it's things you learn like that from comics, I ain't looked through the whole thing yet. I probably learned some more crazy stuff. Now, Sam was there, and I really didn't get a video of Sam, or take a picture of Sam, the guy that, you don't hardly see in my books, or my videos. So, he came up to me and told me he had a Miracle Man issue, number 17. And I would like to get the last issue of Miracle Man. I think it's 23 or 24 of the original series by Neil Gaiman and Mark Buckingham. But I did get an issue 22. I got this one off Robert. I saw it in there. It was one of the later issues, and I think from 12 on up, I have like maybe so many issues, and I almost got this whole run completed. And 12 through 15, as I told CJ, are some of the hardest issues. And I told Robert that. I said 15 is considered the big one. That's Alan Moore's last issue and the Death of Kid Miracle Man, which I picked up years earlier with Eddie, and Eddie will tell you, he was there when I picked it up for $1 out of that guy's long box. And he didn't know, he didn't realize what he had, and I picked it up. I mean, if you're selling books, you have to know what you're selling. And I said, how much is the price on these books? Oh, they're all $1. And I was like, okay. I picked up that whole run, 12 through 15. $1 a piece. I'll never do that again, I don't think. I don't think I'll ever be lucky to get that. Now, anyhow, Robert had 2 issues of Star Slayer. And issue 18, and I don't know if this is the first appearance of Grimjack. I don't think it is. Don't hold me to it. I just picked it up because it's 2 big characters meeting, and it's Grimjack and Star Slayer meeting. And this was it. This was the issue where they meet. And on the back of it, they advertised John Ostrader's Grimjack #1, not just another pretty face. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I got these 2. I got this issue right here, and I'll see about it. I'm not really big into Grimjack. I just picked it up because it's a good meeting and possible first. I don't know, but this one is the first appearance, and I wanted this book for a long while. I'd seen it on my comic shop, and I'd seen it. I looked at Larry's shop, and I actually picked up issue 1, which was the cameo. But now, the Rocketeer debuted back in the early 1980s, and the Rocketeer became a very big character for the time being. Now, he's been mostly silent, but things are going to change because there's talk of a reboot movie ahead. That they're going to actually reboot the movies and start a new one. It's going to be a female Rocketeer. And it's claimed that it could be the great-great-granddaughter of this character. Anyhow, in Star Slayer #2, it's his first full appearance. I went ahead and picked it up because I was like, and Robert knew immediately when I picked this issue up. He said, "You're getting that first Rocketeer." He said, "You know." He said, "You know exactly what she's going for." I was like, "Yeah, I seen it in the boxes. I had to get it." And yeah, this was considered the first, his first appearance. And Robert had the rest of his series. He had there's how he weirdly numbered it, but the character became a hit. They took it to, Disney optioned it for a movie, and as I told CJ, the Rocketeer was a big, the movie didn't do well. The movie, you know, Disney didn't like how the movie performed, but it's become like one of those cult hits, and it's really good for what it was. And hopefully, you know, I can understand, you know, doing a new Rocketeer, tying it in a little bit to the old one, having the great granddaughter of the characters show up, and maybe we can see a picture of him, you know, the original one, and his you know, girlfriend and wife at the end, you know, with a little, you know, little link to the past. But so yeah, hopefully we'll see that, because that movie was talked about, that they're getting ready to do a new Rocketeer movie. So we'll see how it goes. But either way, it was nice haul to get that. I only got a few issues off Robert the last couple weeks, and so that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, just keep on reading.